Hello traders, I just want to show you a couple of trades that I'm in currently. I've shorted on a T2. We can see down here my 50 CCI has rolled over, and you can see here that sorry, I've got messages coming through left, right and center here, and you can see here that my target is 14 ticks, so we're traveling well. It's also a quasi pivot bounce, and we've also had a little double top. Now what may very well happen, it's 4 o'clock here down under. The European market's still another hour to go, so we'll probably go down. Pretty confident we'll go down and be filled on this one. If not, it'll go down a little way, come back up, and then I suspect it'll go up, hit the 34, then continue back down. Now what I will also do is just show you a number of trades that I have on the ES at the moment. So traders, we can see here, this is the ES. I'm short here 20 contracts. I shorted 10 here on this T2. I actually got in a little late. I had no slippage there basically, even though I was in one candle later. I still got in at the close of this price here, and if anything, waiting, at least it got me in on the close on the 8 EMA. I hope all of that makes sense. So you can see here I've got a T2 entry. Now I'm targeting 8 ticks for that, and I've also entered here on this little double top T1, and I'm targeting 8 ticks way down here. Now because of time with the European market, it's a slow time of the day. It may take a little while to get there, but I'm fairly confident we'll actually get there. Now my last target down here is actually the low of the day, so let me just show you that. Let's go horizontal here. So actually the low of the day. So if anything, I really, and I'm going to do this trade, is going to move myself up just one tick. So time and time again we go down and touch or nearly touch a low or a high of the day. So I've just brought it up one tick, and but still it's still 1875 for all of those contracts to be filled, which will be a nice start to the day. I've got a nice tight stop of 5 ticks on each contract, so we'll just put this on hold and wait for it to deliver. Okay traders, just an update. We can see here we're slowly edging down. By the way, this little white line I've got down here, this is actually the low of the day. So we can see here we're getting very close to being filled on this trade. Come on, keep moving. So we're not too far, and my ES trades coming down very nicely as well, and I really want that one to deliver because I got 20 contracts on that one. So we really want that one to get home as soon as possible. So down here, and just while I'm on this is probably a little tip for you, is to, when you get these major little swing highs, or this is a swing low of course, these act as good support and resistance areas. So you can see up here that's going to obviously be an area of resistance. This usually will be an area of support. Just something to keep in mind with your target. So you can see here I'm well and truly above the low of the day for my targets. Just got a bit of a bounce here on the NQ, and once again we can see the low of the day, so pretty confident we'll deliver. And the old trading rule, follow the 34, and we can see the yellow line here is trending nicely. So let me just sorry traders, I just want to get rid of this and just clean my charts up a little bit for you. Okay, so we can, and let me just remove this one as well. Okay, so we can see here that the 8 EMA is under the 34. The 34's rolled over very nicely. Nice little double top there. The 50 CCI. Now remember, one of the tricks, if you want to remove this and not have so many indicators, when the 8 EMA crosses through the 34, look at that there, and look here, you'll find that when the 8 EMA crosses through the 34, it almost always coincides with a crossover of the 50 CCI going either below the zero line or above. So if we look at this little cross here, look at that down there. If we look at this cross back up to the positive, look at that there, we've got the cross. So if you wanted to not have that on your chart, just watch your 8 EMA going through your 34, because that does basically exactly the same thing. So I might even remove that now. I had it on for training for someone earlier, but let me just disable. Oops, let me just disable that one. So it just cleans your charts up a great deal. Now on top of that, if you're not doing any divergence trading, which of course I highly recommend that new traders don't divergence trade, you don't even need to have your MACD Platinum on down the bottom there. You could actually remove that as well if you're not divergence trading, because you can tell after a period of time, you can tell fairly quickly whether you're getting divergence, because remember, when you have angulation, and we can see the 34, see that gap there, that's a really good sign that you're going to have a snapback come up fairly quickly. And that actually was what we call a T89, and most of my students know I love trading T89s. They're just a great trade. Now remembering the aftermarket, once the main market closes, it's a very slow market, so this actually took some hours. Actually, if we look at this here, this is sort of like a 3 to 4 hour time frame, so you've got to be really patient there. So I'll put this back on hold, and the ES has bounced up, but you tend to find that price travels from pivot to pivot. So now that we've started to the short side, there's a very good chance we'll continue down to the short side. By the way, this was a T10. Okay, so a T10, remember, is your roll over here, and it's a lower high. So you can see you had your lower high, roll over the short term, the long-term Stokes rolled over, just like this is a T10 here as well. So traders, I'll put this back on hold. Traders, as suspected, we've had a bit of a bounce up. We're now heading back down. Now just one thing I like to mention, as you saw, I've got a number of positions open right now. So I'm open 2 positions on the ES and 1 here on the NQ 55 tick. So on the ES, it's the 233 volume share bar, and that's coming down nicely. I'm 3 ticks into the money there as well. Now remembering, never ever have any more than 2% in open positions. Now because these are also correlated markets, I can actually, the way I trade, I can actually have up to 4 positions open and still maintain my 2% rule. So typically I've got a 0.5% exposure per trade. Very important. If for financial reasons you've only got enough money to trade 1 contract, you'd only have 1 position open. But when I see trades going in my direction, or I have a number of indications or indicators firing off, I will enter additional trades in the direction of the trend. So that's why I've got 3 positions open here right now. But remember the 2% rule, maximum 2%, ideally less. Less is best. From a psychological point of view, it removes a lot of the pressure from you when you trade. So traders, half an hour has passed. We're slowly ticking down. Notice on the ES chart, notice here we've got a lot of resistance right at this little swing low. You'll see this time and time again. And one little thing to do, which is handy, is to actually draw horizontal lines across so you can see these areas of resistance, and also these swing lows or swing highs make good targets. So if you're trading multiple contracts and you're wishing to take contracts off at various spots, this would be a logical spot, the closest swing low. So traders, another 3 ticks and we'll be filled, 4 ticks again, will be filled on this NQ trade. And you can see here on this little swing low, it's acting as a very, very strong support here. Traders, just one thing I want to point out here is if you notice here that it's really bounced off this little double bottom here. I've even got divergence. The reason I've stayed in this trade is look at the longer term moving averages. There's a lot of resistance at the upper side here. We've got our 34, the 89, the 200. So even though I've got a double bottom and divergence, I would be even more concerned. I'd be very concerned if I didn't have this great resistance here of this area. So we'll just hang in there. Now the half an hour's gone past. It is definitely like watching paint dry today. The market is very slow, and you can see here we've had another T2 actually set up here as well. So you can see the T2, lovely little T2. So you would have shorted down here. It's also a 34 bounce as well. So still another 4 ticks to go, and nearly dinner time for me. So I'm just gonna wait another couple of minutes and hope this delivers before I go to dinner. Traders, at last we can see finally we delivered. So we can see here we punched through after waiting a good hour and a half, couple of hours. That was for 14 ticks, nice tight stop. And let's have a look at our 2 trades that we had on the ES. So we can see here they both delivered as well, both classic 34 bounces T10 T2 trades that we teach in the program. So traders, one thing I haven't mentioned of course is there's always a risk in trading. So please, if you are not a regular contributor, or that is contributor, someone that watches my videos on a regular basis, there is a risk of course in trading. And look, I think Jim Rohn really says it all. And the great late Jim Rohn, if you have never read any of his works or listened to Jim speak, or if you haven't never purchased any of his CDs or DVDs, he was a great philosopher. And I love what he says here: formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. When it comes to trading, nothing truer has ever been said. Traders, you can learn all of these setups that I traded tonight. Now this is over $250 per contract in the live trades, and we're about to go back and I'll do a quick recap. So for $197 you can obtain over 12 of my world's best day trading setups. I've been researching for over 23 years now. I day trade every day. This is what I do. Let me fast track your career. So go to my website, you can purchase the program or drop me an email. So let's just go back and check out the 2 ES trades. Now this was a classic 34 bounce, and then we had a lovely double top. That's why I entered again. Now remember, I mentioned earlier in the video about risk management, never ever risk any more than 2% per trade. Very important. That is all your total positions. I have a saying, and it's this: get rich slowly. So traders, that's 3 out of 3. It's been my target is $400 per contract per day. I trade 10 lots at a time, so it's been a great start to the trading day. Now by the way, look at this here. Now remember earlier in the recording I mentioned support resistance levels. Now see that white line? What is that? It is the low of the day. Now what did I say? It's something you got to be really conscious of. You can see here we've bounced off the low of the day. So the market's come down, we've tested the low, and we've now bounced up. Now in looking at the NQ, we can see we've come down, we've punched through it, got some divergence, and we've now bounced up. Now by the way, we've had multiple other signals. you've had your 34 bounce just here, the T2. You had another T2 signal which I mentioned earlier right here, and if we go back to the ES, let's have a look at what other signals we've had there. Now with the ES we've had another T2 down here, but you were already in, or would have been in, multiple positions. So remember, follow the 34. And you may remember earlier in the video I said there was great resistance up against the 34, the 89, the 200, and what happened? We went up there and bounced along for ages before finally we broke through. We come down and hit support. So traders, you can purchase my program and I'll train you in all of these strategies and techniques. They work. So traders, I look forward to you joining me.